Hi, I'm Karin Hurt, and we're here with our next edition of Asking for a Friend. And I know this is on so many of your hearts and minds right now, which is how do I stay emotionally connected to my team when everyone is working remotely? And I thought the best person to call on this topic is my friend Tanveer Naseer. He is the author of Leadership Vertigo. And Tanveer, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to join us.
My pleasure. It's good to be here, Karin.
So, what would you say? We had some nice conversation around this, and I'd love to hear a few of your thoughts for our listeners.
Well, I think the interesting thing that we always have to remember is that as leaders, we're setting up the emotional context for employees. The best examples, we've all had a place where we had to work in where we would always whisper, is the boss in a good mood today? Should I go see them, right? That's what we're talking about here. And I mean, maybe in most workplaces, it's a lot more subtle. It's not as obvious where we have to be careful. Oh, he's in a bad mood today, so let's not go see him today. But it doesn't change the fact that your emotions do affect the emotional environment your employees are operating in. And in times like now, where we're really dealing with a lot of uncertainty, we are really looking for leaders to provide that clarity and that emotional support. Now, it's not to say you got to be a cheerleader. It's just that you have to understand, how are you showing up? Are you really focused and engaged to really hear and understand your employees' concerns? Or are you really more focused on stuff that's going on in your own head, things that you have on your own plate? Like, after this call, I got to jump on this next call. And so my brain's kind of racing to the next 2-3 steps. I'm not really hearing, or I'm not even really being aware of my own emotional state and what I'm relaying to people in this call.
Oh, that's so good. Do you have some specific advice for how do you A, know if you're showing up well, and B, how do you do that well? Any specific techniques?
Yeah, one thing I would suggest is, if you think back to when we would have our regular meetings, whether it's in a meeting room or in our cafeteria and so forth, right? People would just usually casually come in. We start having little chit chats in our groups. We just talk about not necessarily stuff related to the meeting, right? We're just connecting with our colleagues. And then, the big boss comes in, he starts talking with some people, and then, all right, guys, let's get started, right? So we have this moment where we're just connecting as people. Now, if you think of having a group meeting on a remote platform like Zoom, everyone chimes in. It's impossible for us to have a one-on-one with somebody, because it's just going to be a cacophony of noise. So one person will say something, someone, oh, sorry, what were you saying? And so the conversations become disconnected. So I think a good step is to actually encourage, let's have people have a group session, and you moderate it. It's like, look, let's go around the table, the virtual table, and everyone just check in. Let us know how you're doing. Another good thing is to, try to do like either like a lunch or a happy hour virtually. Invite people to say, look, if you're working from home, have your kids come join us. Let us meet your kid, meet your pet. Let's bring your dog. I'd love to see. Oh, you have a dog. I have a Labrador. I'd love to see your dog with mine. This is the kind of way we can create emotional connection, because now we're not just looking at our employees in terms of the task they play on helping us get through this particular part, but really addressing their emotional thing. I want to see you as a person. I want to connect with you. And that connection is what we see and we're hearing so much is lacking today.
I think that's really good advice. Do you think that we keep hearing about the Zoom fatigue? Do you think you can
Mm.
get emotional? Can it become too much? All of this connection and seeing inside everybody's homes all the time. Can that also become overwhelming? I'm curious what you
Oh,
think.
I think so, but I think, again, it comes down to the context that we're creating. If I've had conversations with people where I'm looking forward to the next one, and large part because I'm getting that human contact, that human engagement. I think where it becomes fatigue is when we're relying a lot on our cognitive load. Okay, this is a really deep dive meeting. We're going to focus on this. Okay, who's taking care of this thing? All right, so we're going to get that done by this. Bob, can you fill out that report? Make sure they get it, so forth. So if we have that kind of conversation, you jump into another one and it's about something unrelated, you're going to have Zoom fatigue, because you're not having that time, as my physics professor used to say, to come up for air and just be a person. Just share, oh, you know what, I just caught up watching that season of the show everyone's been talking about, it was amazing, and so forth. We're not giving ourselves that time because the tech platforms we're using don't really allow for it. They don't really allow for us to have these private conversations. And so I could see that we're having that fatigue if we're not connecting emotionally, which is what we also need. We need that emotional reconnection to recharge our batteries.
Nice. Oh, Tanveer, thank you so much. We really appreciate your thoughts.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.